Welcome to the show. Now, Knoxville, Tennessee is probably best known as the home of the University of Tennessee Volunteers, an SEC conference powerhouse, but Knoxville, KTown for short, has been the springboard for a number of people who have gone on to national recognition. Now, some of those people I know firsthand because I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now I've got to turn down my volume on Instagram. We are multicasting on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So you might be watching on one of those programs. We want to welcome you to K-Town Icons. It's a podcast series that features notable people who grew up and or lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, if you grew up in Knoxville like I did, you know the name Leroy Thompson. He was a double threat. He was a member of the Austin East High School basketball championship team in 1985 and a part of the state championship football team at the same school in 1986. It was football, though, that took him all around the world and I. So he went on to play 6 seasons in the NFL as a running back, and he's now back in Knoxville, and he's here to talk to us about it. We want to welcome him to the show. Hi, Leroy. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Stephanie, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
We know there's a lot that you could be doing, and we're going to get to that. What's on your schedule for these days, but let's go over some of your stats. Now, you played with the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Mm-hmm.
the New England Patriots,
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa
Mm-hmm.
Bay Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
Did I leave any team out?
No, you did not. You got them covered.
Okay, and here's what your stats look like. You had 153 career receptions, including your career best in New England, which was 65 receptions during that time. And so you weren't there to just be the background. You came to play. So congratulations on those accomplishments.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, when you're living in that time, it's like a dream come true. And while you're playing, you're not realizing what the accomplishment was until you get this age. And you look back and it's like, wow, you achieve some of your dreams, you achieve some success. I still get, believe it or not, 20 years removed, I still get requests for autographs and people send cards, or you're out in the community and you don't know the effect that you've had on people's life or the inspiration that you've had. So I feel real blessed to have had that opportunity to come from humble beginnings of East Knoxville and go all the way to the top and inspire other people that they could do the same along the way.
Now, you as far as the numbers, some people choose their numbers that they wear on their jerseys for significant reasons. You wore numbers, what, 34, 36, 31. Were those numbers significant in any way, or the teams chose them for you? How did that happen?
Well, actually, in high school, I was 44, and I wore 44 at Penn State in college. But when I went to pros, there was a 10-year veteran when I got drafted with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I tried to buy the 44 from him. And that's what you do when you get to pros. They don't give up the numbers. You try to buy it. But being that I was a rookie and he was a 10-year vet, the price that he was wanting for that 44 was just too much. So I adapted and chose 34 at that particular time. You can get the number you want if it's available, but if it's not available and a veteran or somebody else has it, you got to purchase it from them. And usually they want a high price tag if they're going to give it up. And then the veterans, they won't give it up if they've been there for quite some time because they've become use and addicted to their number themselves. But 44 is the number I always love because that's the one that's retired in high school. And that's the one I had in college. And that's when you playing just for the love of it. So the other one, the 34s and the 36s and those kind of things, is just the number that was available.
Okay. So you know, Knoxville is considered to be a small city. So when you started out, you essentially were a big fish in a small pond. Then you went on to Penn State. So you became like a small fish in a bigger pond, and then the NFL, a small fish in a bigger pond. How did you make that transition and not get lost in the sauce of what was going on, you know, what was before you? Did you always know that you would make it to that point, to that level of play?
Good question. Good question. Well, growing up in East Knoxville, I had a lot of encouragement. It started with my big brothers. In order for them to go out, my brothers had to take me with them, or they couldn't go and play. They had to take their little brother. Mama said, if you don't take your little brother, then y'all can't go. So I was always playing with older guys and getting roughed up, getting beat up. But by hanging with them and playing with them, I got tough. I got mean. And when I began to play with uh, players that were my age, sports with folks that were my age, I was bigger, I was faster, I was meaner, I was tougher, and that played on in little league and on through college. So I was pretty, not college, but I was pretty prepared once I got to high school. I started as a freshman because I had already been playing with my brother EJ and Marcus, with older guys. So it felt natural to me to be out there, and I was pretty big. Uh, I was of size, and because of them and playing with all of these older guys, I had a lot of maturity for a young guy. So that kind of prepared me being in high school. But then the coaching that I got in high school and the kind of players that we had around us, we had a lot of success because we played everybody. And even though we were a double A school, we played triple A schools, we played 4A schools, we played 5A schools, and we beat them. So by the time I got to college, I was used to playing with a lot of competition, and I was used to competing because we had, I don't know, we had 13 guys from our senior class to actually get athletic scholarships and go to college. And we had folks like Joe Fishback and Reggie and Raleigh McKenzie and Joey Clink Scales and Joey Smith, who was my classmates. We had a lot of guys that made pros that came from Austin East. Elston Turner when I was working in basketball. So I looked up to all of these guys. We lived in the same community. So I didn't only have to dream about if I could make it. I could actually see players that had come from my very community and make it, to believe that it was possible. So in our community, we kind of were able to dream beyond our immediate circumstances and believe that we could actually make it. So when I got there, because of the coaching that we got from Sam Anderson and the coaches, because of the competition, I was ready to compete. It didn't matter where they were coming from across the country. I was ready to compete, and I knew I was prepared. So that gave me a lot of confidence when I got to college and competing against all the other Leroy Thompsons coming from their particular cities. So I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. I was ready to go and compete.
Now, as a matter of fact, your brother EJ, he lives in Dallas. I live in Dallas, and we talk frequently. And so he often says that he taught you most of what you learned about football growing up. And so you've kind of confirmed that, at least being around the bigger kids helped you out. Is it true though that he taught you some lessons that took you through your career, and or was it just that being around bigger kids made you more ready for that challenge?
Oh, hey, my brother EJ is quick to tell you. He run into people and he said, "What? Not, aren't you Leroy's brother?" And he'll be quick to tell you, "No, no, 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 no. That's my." He will tell you in a second who's the older brother. But my brother Marcus, and EJ, they were just pivotal because I was going to follow them. Whatever they done, if they got in trouble, I was getting in trouble. If they were staying out of trouble, I was staying out of trouble. They played sports, I was going to play sports. And again, just being around those older guys that were serious about sports, serious about life, serious about doing the right things, helped propel me to be just disciplined at a younger age than normal. I was pretty serious about sports as a baby road runner, working out and trying to make it. And I saw, sports as my opportunity to get out of the hood, so to speak, because my mom did a great job, but she was raising four of us by herself. But so a lot of the times, I spent a lot of times with my older brothers at the YMCA's and playing sports and all of those things. So those were kind of the things that helped propel me to success.
So let's show. I want to show. These are courtesy of EJ's Facebook page. This is you when you were with the Steelers, and then there's one of you with the Kansas City Chiefs. And so you could tell he's very proud of you and your accomplishments. And then this was you and he when you guys were younger. That's is that you or him?
Well, that's EJ right there, but me and Marcus, I know that picture because my mom used to dress me right there. My mom used to dress us all alike in little flowered sweaters, and I got all the other thing about cool about being the younger brother is that I got all the hand-me-downs. And
Okay.
I don't know about Marcus's hand-me-downs. If he's listening, he may get mad. His hand-me-downs wasn't as cool as EJ's. EJ used to think he was sharp with his baggy pants and pointed toe shoes, and so I used to get all of his hand-me-downs and used to get cracked on at middle school by my friends to this day. They remember my clothes being too big, and I thought I was sharp, but I was wearing all of EJ stuff that he was passing down to me.
So you mentioned that there were a number of players that went from Austin East to the pros. And is there so when you went pro, did is there this camaraderie from people from the same city or same college, perhaps, where they kind of contact you or they serve as your mentors? Because I interviewed Deion Sanders a couple of years ago because he, of course, played with the Cowboys for a number of years and lived in Texas, in Dallas, in the Dallas area. And I asked him about mentors. And so he brought up the fact that it's important for, most for all people, but for especially for athletes to have mentors, to have a spiritual counselor, to have a financial counselor. Did any of the football players that came from your high school, did they mentor you? Did you have mentors to help you to get through?
Well, I tell you what, you mentioned I did have a spiritual mentor, and God bless his soul. He just passed last year, a gentleman by the name of Gerald Williams, which was my baby Roadrunners coach, but he also was a pastor at churches, and he used to pick me up, come and get me and take me to church, and he also was my coach. So having that positively in my life and teaching me about God at an early age, and then my mom was a gospel pianist. So if we didn't go to church, we didn't get to eat. So going to church was no problem because I didn't want to be food deprived. So
Right.
that kind of we're all our entire family. We sing. We all go to church. My sister is probably the best singer in the family. EJ may disagree with that, but it's not even close. My sister is the best, and then it was my mom, and then me, Marcus and EJ, then EJ, and then Marcus. So I think it goes. I think it goes in that order. But as far as the guys from around here, it wasn't as much as them mentoring me while I was playing. It was them being in front of me, showing how to do it along the way. How you are a professional, how you work hard, getting the making sure you study. All of those guys, not only did they play sports, they all graduated and they all were good students. Reggie and Raleigh McKenzie was valedictorian and Victorian in their classes. Not only at Austin East, they were good students at UT. So I was able to see those kind of things as a young person. And then growing up, being around Reggie White and who used to come to the school and all of those things, you look up, and my best friend, Joe Fishback, was the best man in my wedding. And you look up and here your guy that you grew up with is tackling you on an NFL field. Joey Smith, who was in the same backfield I was at Austin East. Can you imagine? Okay, I'm running down the field, and Joey Smith took kickoff back for a touchdown during the very game that I'm playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. Joe is playing for the Jets, and you're tackled by your best friend, who y'all were poor and growing up in the neighborhood, didn't know you was poor, but you was poor. You was dreaming that you can make it, and you look up, and we got guys all over the NFL and I'm not just talking about who know each other. I'm talking about who grew up together and was the best of friends, just dreaming that we could even make it out one day and be successful. So yes, once the games were over, we got together. I got pictures of all my friends that I grew up with in uniform in the NFL. My brother-in-law played for the Bengals, so you're sitting over there, and there was all kinds of ties and relations. I got Reggie White, I got Joey, I got Joe, I got Reggie and Raleigh McKenzie, Joey Clint Scales, and we still get together to this day and kind of play golf and reminisce and talk about the same old stories we've been talking about for about 40 years.
So, these days, you with social media, I think that we hear a lot about what the temptations that pro uh, uh, athletes have to deal with, those challenges. And so now pro sports leagues, they teach, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, those are the main three. But, now the sports leagues, they teach about being good stewards of your money, whereas before they might not have focused on that. So like watching out for gold diggers, watching out for scams and other money pitfalls. So how did you make sure to account for your money? Did it come naturally to you to watch it? Did you have a certain money manager? Like how, because it seems like, you'll hear stories about certain retired pro ballers that are now in dire straits, or they didn't do well with the money when it was coming in, and so now they're having issues with making ends meet. How did you avoid that?
Great question. Again, you're hitting it right on the money. Back when we were playing and coming out, there was no education, not even from our agents. I think back with my agent, he was a lawyer and an accountant. But yet and still, he taught me nothing about the stock market, about investing, about real estate, any of those things that I do today. I certainly didn't learn them or know them while I was playing. So we didn't have the educational resources that these guys have now. Now they have every class, every training. It's a part of your indoctrination into the NFL, and guys are doing real well. I had to kind of learn uh, by doing, being successful, and failing. It really wasn't until I got out of the NFL that I really linked up with a developer that taught me real estate, that taught me about investments and different things of that nature, that I began to learn about investments, cash flow, all of those things that I wish I would have learned while I was playing. Now, I wasn't one of those guys where you sign on the dotted line and they making the kind of money they're making today. It's just ridiculous. The money they make today, you sign on the dotted line and you pretty much your generation, the next generation, the next generation, if they take care of it, is retired. We had to earn every penny. And I was like a six rounder at that time, but there were 16 rounds at that time. There are only 6 rounds now. When I came out, there were 16. So I had to make every team that I played for. I had to go out and earn that check and earn that signing bonus. And I'm blessed to have made the money that I did. I was able to take care of my mom, take care of my family, was able to come and give back to Knoxville, give scholarships and invest in nonprofits and build stuff around town and do those things. But if I was a little smarter, if I'd have been a little more educated at that time, I would have known what I'm doing now back then, and would have probably been much better off.
So, I want to ask you one, did you have, well, you said that you didn't really know all that you know now. So, what was your exit strategy? Did you have one, or you just felt like this money will last me? And then after that, you realize, oh, I really need to be doing something else to bring money in.
Well, I did have a financial advisor who I invested very, very, very conservatively in AAA bonds, in which you could earn, 5 to 10% a year. So I wasn't investing in the stock market. I wasn't buying real estate. I really didn't understand all of those things then. So when I did retire after 6 years or so, I did have a little money to go and do the things that I want to do on top of having already invested. I invested 25% of every dollar I earned in the NFL to churches in Knoxville and charities, along with my family. So a great chunk of what I made, I gave away. Now, had I known, I could have been a little smarter about how I gave it away. Had I known what I know now, but I don't regret that because I truly believe to whom much is given, much is required. A lot of people say that verse, but I live that verse. I try to live it with that's why I came home to invest in socially deprived communities and give back to a city that gave to me. That's the only reason I came back to Knoxville. I could have stayed in Pittsburgh or Tampa or some of the other cities that I played in, where I definitely could have made more money in the community. But I wanted to come back, go into the inner city where I was from, and make a difference. So I invested a lot of money and took a lot of risk, quite frankly, into East Knoxville. And believe it or not, I'm still doing that to this day. I learned by hard knocks, and now I'm able. And it's something about being very, very successful, and it's something about failing. The key difference that I tell my kids is the only difference for me and you is that I've lived longer. So I've had some success and I've had some failures, and I know the difference between the two. So if they're going to go out and make mistakes, go out and make some new mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes that I made. I want you to make new mistakes. So when I'm working with folks, I can be open and honest about the positive things that I've done, but I also can be open and honest about the things that were I didn't do well, and be able to teach and train people to do those things differently so they can get a different result.
So before we get into what you are doing these days in Knoxville, I know one of the words of advice, one of the things that people say everybody should do to save their money and to have longevity financially is to choose a good partner first. Don't, choose somebody just because of whatever, go, and then get divorced and get somebody else and then get divorced, because that is depleting your funds through, all that it takes to get divorced and start over. So having said that, I know that you and Keisha Davis Thompson, we went to school together. All of us did. She, is a wonderful person. You guys have what, 3 kids together?
Yes. Two
Okay.
boys.
So
I mean, 2 girls and a boy.
two girls and a boy. And so I just want to, when I know that someone like yourself, and then I spoke with uh 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 Patrick Smith, that was and one of our KTown icon conversations earlier. He also married a hometown girl. And so when I always want to give homage and recognize when that happens, because people, it's hard to trust people, and so when you know that someone genuinely wants you and loves you for who you are before all the fame, that speaks a lot to the type of person that they probably are. So just wanted to say congratulations on that and your family that you have built. And so you spoke on your kids and making new mistakes, learning from what you've done. And so what, a lot of people know you from the 6 years or so that you were a ball player, but there's more to you than that. Are you okay with that when people are like, oh, Leroy Thompson played football, but that was like years ago and it was only for 6 years? So because there's so much more to you than that. How do you feel about that when people want to just look at you as an athlete and not the whole person that you are?
Well, first I want to comment on Miss Thompson. You mentioned my wife Keisha. You're right in that regards. I was lucky enough to find my soulmate at a very young age. I can't say we've just celebrated 31 years of marriage. We've been together since for 40. So I'm 55. So we've been
Wow.
together, 3/4 of our lives. And I can't say that I can't take all the credit for that because she put up with me through the good, the bad, the ugly. And we're in a very, very wonderful season with 3 grown kids, 24, 26, and no, 20, 26, 28, and 30. And they're fabulous kids, and they make us proud, and they're going through their lumps and bruises right now, and we're helping them through them. But that's wonderful. And she's been there through all the thick and thin. And now the crazy thing is when people come up to me and they're pointing, and it used to be there goes Leroy Thompson's wife, but now it's are you Nakisha Thompson's husband? I,
Okay.
she's made such a name for herself in her real estate business and on her boards and different things of that nature that I'm Nakisha Thompson's husband now, which is pretty cool. Which is pretty cool. I really get a kick out of that one. But one to get into your other question, one of the most wonderful things that compliments that I can ever get is people will come up and say, "I wish you would have went to UT." But man, I sure appreciate you coming home and what you've done in our community. So a lot of people don't know I made more money in real estate and development than I made in the pros. So So being able to come home, I was blessed to find a partner when I was executive director at an inner city nonprofit called the Wesley House. There was a big time developer, Walmart and a Target developer on my board. So he thought that I could had the gift traits to be a good real estate developer. So he offered me an opportunity to come partner with him because he wanted to do more things in the center city and get away from a lot of this big Walmart and Target development. So we negotiated. He took me under his realm. He taught me construction and design and leasing and real estate development. He mentored me. He wrote checks. He backed me up. He threw me out there sink or swim, and I knew how to swim. So I started going in and developing different properties around town. And he said that you're doing a real good job with the social aspects of your community. But I think if you take up this trade, you can go in and create jobs and change the tangible aspects of your community by creating businesses and enterprise and those types of things. And we're doing some pretty exciting things with that right now with another former Alston East graduate that I know you'll be talking to, who is Fred Lowry. Fred is a vice president of for Thermo Fisher Scientific, which is a huge company. And Fred was my little Fred then to me was a backup quarterback. And we're now going into working together to go back in the communities where we grew up and develop dilapidated properties and put commercial properties and residential properties in the hood where we grew up. So it's a pretty exciting time for us. So I'm still doing that kind of stuff. I traveled a lot, done a lot in government, and done a lot in nonprofits and different things. But now I'm back to community development, doing what I love to do, and it's wonderful to get paid to do what you love to do.
So, are you talking about the Fred Lowry who is Helen's brother, Fred Lowry?
Helen's, no, this Fred Larry only had brothers Marvin and Chris Lowry.
Oh, okay, because I'm
Yeah.
like, that don't sound like the Fred Lowry that I know. But anyway, different Fred Lowry. Okay, so recently, so I've been going back and forth to Knoxville because my mother had a stroke recently.
I'm
She's
sorry.
stable and getting better.
To
But
God,
you know,
glory.
when I'm not going back and forth to the hospital, I'm driving around the old neighborhood and I'm seeing things that like the streets, they're changed. They got housing developments where there was nothing. So just wow. So I don't know, I can't oh, and here's something that surprised me. There are people who I know who have streets named after them and underpasses named after them. And I'm like, what are they doing that has a street named after them? Which leads me to ask, do you have a street named after you yet? Because I know it's probably coming.
Well, I do not have a street named after me. I think they leave the street name into those folks who are in politics,
Okay.
like city councilman and your folks that are more in the public arena. No, now Elston Turner did get a street named after him. Now, if you want to call down and nominate, the street names, there should be. I'm not going to say there should be one because I'm not going to lobby for my own street name. But
But
but I do not have a street name as of yet. Now
all
there
right,
is
well, we'll
one
see what
street
we can do.
name. There is a street. It's two names on some areas where I grew up, and I'm like, wow, they just done forgot about poor old little Mr. Thompson. But that's okay, because that's okay. God teaches us to be humble and to do what we do out of gift exchange, which means do it not looking for something in
In
return. Do
return.
it because it's the right thing to do. So I try to do things not to. My name has been in enough lights, so I'm not searching for lights and credit, all those things.
So
I'm certain. Go ahead. I didn't hear you.
I'm not sure if it's me or him that we've lost. Oh, we lost the
I can
connection,
hear
which
you
means
now.
okay.
I can hear you
It's
now.
telling me. Okay, we're back. Um, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, because it's frozen. Let me see what I can do to unfreeze it.
Okay.
At any rate, so in it seems like you have mapped out the plan, just being prepared for the task and not being afraid of going from being the big fish to a small fish, because if you are prepared, it will work out. And don't be there just to be the background, but to contribute, and choose right the first time, and a partner, and give back to your community. So those things are very important. And is there anything that we didn't ask, that I didn't ask, that you want to impart to people who might want to get some words of wisdom from you, or for you to be their mentor virtually?
Well, the biggest thing that I can say, particularly if we're talking to folks that live in the inner city, talking to folks that are still dreaming and planning and trying to accomplish their objectives in life, is that one, uh, we've got to see it before we can achieve it, and it's how you take care of yourself, self encouragement, being around the right people. I'm actually taking classes in my master's right now in leadership and ethics. And one of those things that just keeps resonating is being around people, because there's a natural energy that we have to the people that we're around, whether it's our family, our friends, whether it's our coworkers, and there's a lot of dream snatchers out there. So you want to make sure that you keep positive thoughts, positive energy, positive reading, positive focus around positive people. And if you're the smartest one of the people that you're around, you need to get some new people to be around. So I am constantly seeking out, not people just would tell me that what I want to hear, but seeking out folks that can sharpen iron, and that we can invest in each other and that we can grow together. So one of the things in our community is we don't do a great job of collaborating, and that's really not good when you're 11% of the city and 13 or 15% of the county, because the resources are so scarce. And when you don't have money, power, and politics, the only thing you have is your vote. And in order to vote, you got to collaborate together and come out in numbers and masses to make the change that we want. So those are some things that we can do better. One, collectively, we can collaborate better so our voices can be heard, particularly as Black people. And they don't listen to anything but money, power, and politics. So if you don't have any money, you don't have any power, you still got the opportunity to vote. You still got the opportunity to come out in masses, and people pay attention to that. And then, like I said, individually, you got to see yourself operating in the very dream or position that you desire even before it happens. So if you see yourself as failing, guess what you're going to do? You're going to fail.
Fail.
If you see yourself as driving, as successful, then not only do you set the standard for yourself, but get around people. I used to go ask millionaires to go to lunch with me when I was in Knoxville at Austin East. And I used to take them out and ask them how they do it. And you would be surprised at what successful people, when you're young in a business or you're trying to achieve, they will take the time out. I never not not give somebody time when they call me. Now, some people say, well, I ain't seen him. Well, I'm not looking for something else to do because I got kids and I'm busy and I got a job and I got all these other things. But when somebody calls me, I'm always there to do it. And you'll be surprised at when you see people who got what you want, copy, go try to learn how to do what they did in order to get what they got. And that's what I've tried to do. So that's a word, mentoring word. That's the strongest one that I can give you because people, particularly young professionals that are coming to seasoned professionals, if somebody calls you now and say, well, man, how do you start a podcast? If a young person calls you, a young professional calls, you can give them some good things of what to look out for, and you can give them some things that you can do better from doing it. And you'll be surprised that we don't ask folks who have what you desire. We get intimidated about asking them for their time. You'll find that successful people will happily give you time if you ask. So I would say don't be deterred by calling people, asking to go out for a cup of coffee. How do you start business? What's my strategy? The same questions you were asking me. I used to take folks out. Now, when I got older, and now they see this little young guy who's now coming back as a professional, they knew that I was involved way back then, wanting to see our city to be successful. So now when you come in and you want to partner or you want to investment in your nonprofit, well, they look back and say, well, he was doing that with his own money and time. I know he cares about our city because now he's back doing it 30 years later. So those are some good advice that I can offer to folks that are looking for a little nugget.
And those are words of wisdom. And I appreciate you taking your time and imparting the information. And hopefully, I know you mentioned that you don't post that often, that you leave that to your family members. So if someone wants to reach out to you, is there a certain social media platform that they could seek you out on?
Well, I am on Facebook, but I'm hard to find. But I tell you what, I will give my email. I have several emails, but the one that I check the most is LEROYT as in Tom 69 at gmail.com. That's my first name, last name initial 69 when I was born at gmail.com.
All right, now let me see, because I just emailed you. So is that correct? No, hold on.
I
Yeah,
did
at
get
the
your
bottom.
email. Yes.
Leroy69 at gmail.com.
No, T69
T69.
at
Okay.
gmail.com. Yes.
All right. I'm trying to see around my light. Okay. I think that's it. All right. So we appreciate you taking out the time, and I know because I've learned something just spending this 45 minutes with you. So we certainly will keep in touch, and hopefully we'll have you back to talk about some of your developments and how they can help people in the community if you're looking, especially if your work helps to employ people, or if there's going to get the word out, we can certainly help to do that. So we want to thank you again and congratulations on all your achievements. Tell your family that we said hello, and we will keep in touch.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations, and keep doing what you're doing. with your podcast, and thank you for thinking enough of me to consider me an icon of the community. I'm flattered and humbled by it. So thank you so much.
All right. You have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was Leroy Thompson from Knoxville, Tennessee, former NFL athlete. And we want to ask you if you know of someone in the community in Knoxville who grew up in or is from Knoxville, and they have helped to put Knoxville on the map, then email me and give me their their contact information. So that's my name, Stephanie Rivers. My email address is my name, Stephanie Rivers, info@stephanierivers.com. You can reach me there if you want to suggest that we speak with someone and make them a part of our KTown Icon series. So that's it. To find out more about what we're doing, as a matter of fact, let me end with this. This podcast is co-produced by myself and Katusha Kroom, who's also from Knoxville. Get it? So we will be bringing to you a number of people, and Leroy mentioned a number of his classmates and people who graduated from Austin East, as well as around the city, that we will be having as a part of the conversation. Next up, we will be talking with Silk Cozart, who is an actor and model, and also moved back to the Knoxville area. So you'll be hearing from him. We'll go live with him. We're scheduled to go live this weekend. So that's it. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time on Conversations with KTown Icons.